Okay, guys, there was once a history in the time of godlike productions where it wasn't all politics, where you didn't scroll down through the entire first page and find threads about Trump and Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. There was a time when godlike productions was a conspiracy forum. Well, I guess it still is, but it'd be hard-pressed to find conspiracy if you were just to glance at the front page and see all the pinned threads. For example, let's just take a quick read-through on this October evening and see what we find pinned on the front page, just so we have some comparison for what I'll talk about later. Well, we can start off with President Trump has released a photo of Nancy Pelosi's meltdown, which led to her storming out of the building. Next, Trump in a letter to Erdogan, dated October 9th, "Don't be a tough guy, don't be a fool, I will call you later." Next thread, nervous Nancy's unhinged meltdown. Or how about Pelosi throws tantrum, storms out of White House meeting on Syria with President Trump. Oh, and that includes a video. Or how about this one? Trump tweet, Nancy Pelosi needs help fast. There is either something wrong with her upstairs. Or how about Trump now asking what has happened with Anthony Weiner laptop, as though that was a new topic that we haven't seen before. Or how about, why did Trump bring up the laptop? My opinion and open to debate. Or, right below that, Trump calls out Lindsey Graham for covering up the crimes of Obama, Hillary, and previous administration. Wake up, South Carolina, vote Lindsey out. And it continues. There's one that just says, Trump has lost his damn mind. Or how about Sanders or Warren both beating Trump in polls? Or how about, why are some of you obsessed with red versus blue? You're a pawn. Or how about the letter, Donald Trump tried to save Erdogan. He didn't listen. Now he's going to die. And it continues on and on. And, most of those threads I just mentioned are pinned threads or were pinned at some point earlier in the day on this October 16th. But even if we scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, all the way to the bottom, you have Schumer, nasty, Trump insulted Pelosi, called her a third-rate politician. And right under that, if elected, Biden would be 78, Bernie would be 79 when sworn in. Okay, so obviously, GLP, the conspiracy forum, like I've stated before, since 2016, it has become a political front page. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Everybody needs a news aggregator, whether you're on the left or the right. It's great to have a news aggregator for your political threads, especially ones that get your blood pressure up, or at least promise to get your blood pressure up. But you see, that's why I'm going to call this video The Time Before Trump. Because we're not going to talk about Trump. We're going to go old school GLP, and we're going to talk about some of the weird stuff. Okay, let's go way, way back in time on godlike productions. And by back in time, I mean back in time to 1995. 1995 is when the ZetaTalk website first appeared online. ZetaTalk, created by a woman named Nancy Lieder, showed up as a website, a very simple website, the epitome of plain white pages with hypertext, claiming to channel the Zeta Reticulan aliens from the Zeta Reticuli star system, who had words of wisdom or prophecy to deliver through their emissary, Nancy Lieder. Now, Nancy Lieder is a woman who, from what I can tell, has always and currently, as of 2019, lives in Wisconsin. Now, Nancy claims to be receiving messages from the Zeta Reticulans, channeling them to whoever will listen to her. And her website, ZetaTalk, after it showed up in '95, caused quite a stir online, mostly because the internet was new at the time and it didn't take much to impress people. People were hungry for paranormal knowledge. People were hungry for the oddball, the hidden in the attic type of information that they couldn't find anywhere except on the radio on programs like Art Bell late at night. Now, when the internet came along, and it became more than just plain text hyperlink, and it became more than just Usenet news groups, and it became more than simply very primitive graphics of Netscape Navigator. When high-speed internet came along, and high-speed, I mean the first cable modems came along, Nancy Lieder's site exploded, and she continued to thrive. She made appearances on media programs, including the Art Bell Show. She made appearances on any radio station that would have her. Now, as her site became popular, she pushed the conspiracy theory that the government had known for a long time that a giant cataclysmic event was going to occur, and that most of humanity would be wiped out, and only a select small group of survivors who were taking the wisdom of the Zetas would survive and move on after the shift with the rest of humanity. And so Nancy's message was apocalyptic, and it was conspiratorial, and it was quite extensive, at least text-wise, with topic after topic after topic being posted by Nancy as channeled from the supposed Zetas. Now, every week, I believe it was Sunday, Nancy would host an IRC chat that would be dedicated to a live question and answer session with these channeled Zeta Reticulan aliens. Now, she would have a few hundred of her followers in these IRC chats, and they would discuss topics that were posed by the listeners and readers of ZetaTalk to the Zeta Reticulans and answered by Nancy in real time through the IRC chat, and questions, of course, that were taken in and then pre-selected and approved by Nancy before she would answer them. And then these answers from the Zeta Reticulans channeled through Nancy would be posted on her website as New ZetaTalk. And it became a self-referential canon, so to speak. And as it became bigger and bigger and more voluminous, it would become ever more complex, whereas a new person would find the ZetaTalk website, and instead of finding the original 1995 material, they would find quite a rabbit hole of information to spiral down into, following link after link into different subjects channeled by the Zetas. And so, as 2000, 2001, 2002 approached, it became known and put out by Nancy through the Zetas that 2003 was the date of this apocalypse that was going to happen to the Earth. Now, what she described was a pole shift, and she was one of the first people online to describe this pole shift that was coming, in which not only the Earth's magnetic field would reverse, but that the north and south poles physically of the Earth would shift, as in the entire crust of the Earth would go through a crustal displacement. And this is very similar to what was portrayed in the movie 2012. And in fact, the writer and producers of 2012 took a lot of their material from Nancy Lieder's material and from other people online that also glommed onto Nancy Lieder's material and created their own material, very similar material of their own. And so the movie 2012 actually is a pretty good Hollywood portrayal of what Nancy forecast on her ZetaTalk website. Now, as the years went on, and of course as 2003 approached, Uh, of course, we know, because we're sitting here talking about it, that the apocalypse, the cataclysms never happened. The Zetas and Nancy just moved their date forward. Like any preacher, like any apocalyptic preacher of any church anywhere has done many times before, they simply move their doomsday date forward and offer up the best explanation as how the prior prophecies were misinterpreted or were merely tests to test the will and the faith of the listeners. And Nancy did the same thing. She basically said that the Zetas put forth the 2003 apocalypse date, the pole shift date, as a test, as an early warning to get people to prepare, and that the real pole shift date was yet to come. Now, of course, the time went on in 2003, 2005, 2007, all through this time period. Nancy and the Zetas were very careful to hedge their bets, to not call a firm date, and to just say, well, it's right around the corner and you better get your butts moving to prepare. And of course, she had another website affiliated with ZetaTalk that was called Troubled Times, and it was a group of people that offered forth information on how to sustain themselves after the pole shift. Small farming operations, survivalist info, and etc. Now, on Godlike Productions, ZetaTalk was there since the beginning. In fact, ZetaTalk was posted on Godlike Productions before Godlike Productions was even under the ownership that it is now. And in fact, if I show you the earliest search results right here for ZetaTalk, you can see on the right-hand side that we're going down all the way to 2004. Now, of course, ZetaTalk was around since 1995, but the ownership of GLP wasn't, and I'm sure the messages from since before this time are long disappeared into the bowels of the internet. So on GLP ZetaTalk, the earliest thread is from October 15th of 2004. At least that's what the search results show. Okay, so moving on to the actual ZetaTalk website. And it says at the top in its banner, ZetaTalk online since 1995. Well, yeah, that is true. Now, how much of the rest of it is true? Well, it is true that Nancy Lieder has posted all this material, and it has been relatively, in fact, as far as I can tell, the material text posted on ZetaTalk has not changed substantially at all down to the letter since 1995 and since it has been posted and added to. So a page that has been, this page on orientation, that this text that appears here, this has not changed since 1995. I mean, yes, a few things have been added, a few of these links have been added, but the bulk of this information has been here unchanged since 1995. Now, it's very simple, and it shows you, other than some small formatting changes, what the internet looked like in 1995. You click on a link, and you get a page of other links. Very simple. You click on a further link, you get a page to, for example, this one written by July 15th, 1995. This hasn't changed since that date, and this is easily provable with a Wayback Machine. And so, yeah, I can say that this site is a representation of itself going back to 1995. So this may have historical purpose beyond just the weirdness and the fact that you can find it on GLP and that it has a history with GLP. This is actually a part of internet history. Now, ZetaTalk, of course, is probably unknown to most people now, as it's faded into obscurity, and it's faded into obscurity largely because time after time, when a apocalyptic date or a pole shift date has approached, the followers that Nancy had at each time were, let's put it mildly, severely disappointed. And so The original crew she had, the people running her IRC chat, the people that were helping her organize her information on her troubled times survival site, those people have long gone. They've fallen off the wagon, so to speak. But Nancy continues on, and in fact, she's still issuing Zeta reports on this USA Emergency Broadcasting Network site, which is calling itself USA EBN. And apparently this USA EBN, its primary focus seems to be to promote Nancy's site. So I don't know if this is just an associate of Nancy's, or perhaps Nancy is actually behind this site as well. I mean, there are other things here, but it seems that the primary focus is ZetaTalk, and all these keywords you see: USA, EBN, ZetaTalk, preparedness, end times, pole shift, Hopi, Nibiru. Those are all ZetaTalk keywords found on the ZetaTalk website. And so Nancy continues on, and I've even listened to a recent one of these podcasts of hers that are not only on this USA Emergency Broadcasting Network, but they're also found on her YouTube channel. This material is, again, just the same stuff that Nancy Lieder has been reporting since 1995. Nothing's changed. In fact, in her interviews, her recent one from this month on YouTube and on this site, she's simply restated the same thing she has stated, since the 90s. And so there's nothing new here. You can just go back to ZetaTalk and read it all for yourself. She hasn't changed anything. One thing that I can say about ZetaTalk and Nancy Lieder is she has not changed. Take it for better or worse, she has not changed her story one bit, and she continues to channel the Zetas. Now, why I go into this on GLP Launchpad is because recently somebody asked whatever happened to Nancy and the Zetas, and the simple answer is that nothing happened to her. She's just older than she was, and she lives in the same small town in Wisconsin, and she's just not popular anymore. She's not popular on GLP, and she's just not popular on the internet anymore. People have moved on. Apocalypses have come and gone. People's fascination with the Zeta Reticulans has come and gone because, well, it's no longer 1995, and Art Bell is no longer king of the late night talk radio. Things have just changed. And so I don't know if there's anything else that's going to be added to the history of ZetaTalk over time. I seriously doubt it. At some point, I think that perhaps the website will just go dark after Nancy Lieder simply ages and fades away from the world of the living. So anyway, I thought I would cover this as something different because it's certainly a blast from the past, and it's quite different from anything you find on GLP today. It is literally the time before Trump. And so that's why I started this video with that, because 1995 and ZetaTalk is so far from the time of Trump that I don't even think Trump's name is mentioned in any of ZetaTalk before, of course, he became president. So in any case, until the next GLP Launchpad, I bid you adieu.